Welcome. Welcome to us. It's not just me. It's not just this guy, this, that guy. It's us. My name is Matt, and I do a beer channel called Massive Beers. And this guy's name is.
Thomas from Thomas Opent. And before anybody gets confused, yes, I am indeed not American or English. I'm Dutch. So most of my reviews will not be in English for anybody who's watching this on Matt's channel. In case you're
That's
watching
not
this,
fair. A lot of them are in English. You have a decent amount in English.
that's true. That's true.
You
I
know,
remember,
so
I remember
do you
that
have a
at one
rhyme or
point.
reason? Do you have a rhyme or reason to that? I think you told me once, but.
I try to do an English one like every 2, 3 weeks, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't.
But do you pick are your English reviews predominantly beers that English speakers can get?
I switch that around. Sometimes I'm like,
Okay.
hey, this is a fantastic like Dutch beer or hard to get for like native speaking English native speaking people, and they're like, this is my opinion on it. But sometimes I'll find like an American beer that is easy to get, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's go for this because why the fuck not?
Cool.
Yeah,
What was I going to say? Geez,
word.
lost my train mind. Anyway, so you're in Holland.
The
I'm
net, the net.
inside joke.
I knew,
Inside
I
joke,
knew,
everybody.
I knew you were gonna do that.
And I'm in New Jersey, United States, by Pennsylvania. So I'm not like by the Sopranos or anything like that. And you're in the Netherlands. Does Netherlands have any kind of like regionality like that? Is Netherlands, are there sections of the Netherlands that would be like, oh, this is like a small city state or something like that, or is it just the
Yeah,
Netherlands?
well, we got more like rural areas and more like suburban areas and urban areas. We definitely do have that. If you go to like big parts of so you just said Holland. Holland is actually there's two provinces, Northern Holland, Southern Holland. There is rural areas over there, but there's more bigger cities where I'm up from the north. As you would have in many norths in many countries, you'll find that that's a bit more rural. We do have some bigger cities, but more country. And I'm definitely more of a. I'm not city. I'm not like real country. I'm kind of in between.
Okay. And because and because we are talking to somebody that is from the Netherlands, obviously we're going to be drinking beer from the Netherlands, right?
Yes, of course
Oh no, we're
we are.
drinking Bavarian beer. Yeah, totally not doing
We're,
that.
we're
So
doing we're doing fucking legends.
yeah,
Um,
they are legends, honestly. I'm oddly enough we're doing Weihenstephaner Korbinian versus Schneider Aventinus
mhm.
Doppelbock, traditional, what I would say traditional Doppelbock versus a wheat Weizenbock. Um, I was very very late to the Korbinian. How would you say it?
Corbinian. Well,
Yeah,
if I now I'm stuck on my. Let me.
English.
Yeah, I have to say by the way, I just recently really discovered, and I've known this for a long time. English, like that, be it British or American, really is my native language, and Dutch is like my secondary, and then I can speak some German. So, as best as I would say it, it would be Weihenstephaner Korbinian.
Okay. And
So
how
the
about
R is a
the
bit more of a
how
Korbinian.
about the Schneider Aventinus? How would you say that?
Schneider Aventinus.
Okay. But I was late to that Korbinian game. I actually didn't have that beer up until shortly before I started my channel. That's a long time. Like I was drinking Aventinus since the get. So I'm super familiar with both these beers. But the Korbinian was actually one of it might have been the first beer review I ever did on my channel, if not one of the first 10. So I'm excited to revisit it, man.
For me, the Corbinian is up there with like Eyenger's Celebrator and the Salvatore from Paulana. It's like
See, I would put, to me, there's always been a delineation between, because to me, there's this celebrator, or celebrator, as we say here in the States.
Mhm.
There's been a difference. To me, there's two different Doppelbocks. There's the Salvatore, there's, the Paulaner Doppelbocks, and there's the, you know what I mean? The celebrate. There seems to be something a little bit more richer, a little bit more dense about those Doppelbocks along with Corbinian. Along with Korbinian, as opposed to those other ones. To me, there's like almost like two different Doppelbocks. There's like Doppelbock Light and Doppelbock Proper.
Totally agreed. And there's something that I always touch upon because Bock beers there's this thing called in the Netherlands called the Bock beer season, which is not really a big thing anymore, but it used to be. They kind of sucked. They turned into like sweetened caramel alcoholic water. I feel like, with some exceptions, the best Bocks are still the classic German ones,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
they're
And
still. Yeah, go ahead.
God, no, you got.
Well, there's like a few breweries that have done some amazing stuff, and especially in like the last 2, 3, 4 years, where the lagers are becoming more popular again, and more breweries are getting that proper lager brewing technique under control. They're making the traditional box, because many breweries were just fucking around. They were like, "We're going to do a bock, but it's lagered. We don't know how to properly brew a lager. We'll just make it a higher fermented bock," which just completely loses what a real Bach should be. To
Yeah,
me, a proper Bach, be it a double Bach, a single Bach, it needs to be lower fermented.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
No,
maybe.
no. Yeah, I agree totally. You know what I mean? Like that's just how they're supposed to be done. They're loggers, you know. Um, but one of what I was going to say is we actually have a surprisingly stellar cast of Doppelbocks here in the States. There's breweries here in the United States that make some of the best. I would put them up against some of the OG classics. They're that good. And honestly, the breweries that might surprise you. Sam Adams Doppelbock is a fan freaking tastic. There's a brewery over here called Trogs. They make a beer called Troganator. That beer is freaking fantastic. I mean, there's so many breweries over here that do great doppelbocks. It's like we're kind of lucky with that because it's not the case with a lot of other traditional European styles, like Belgian ales over here. They're very they can be good, but they lack that authenticity, and that's kind of the thing that they nail over here with doppelbocks, which is nice.
We're gonna do a session one day where we compare like proper Belgian blonde versus non-Belgian blonde, Belgian double versus non. You know what I mean? We should do some of that. But
Yep.
what I totally agree. But why I understand that in the States it's much easier to get proper craft Bock, so to say. Um, because even though these are, as far as I know, still independent breweries, they are at a capacity that rivals like big beer. Um, if you look at the States, the lager in itself has been a big thing for over
Yeah,
a
very
decade.
true. Yeah.
And here in the Netherlands and in other parts of Europe, it's only just in the last couple of years that people are realizing, hey, uh, for shits and giggles, my favorite Hayes brewery just dropped a Helles. Let's try that. And they suddenly realize, oh, what the fuck? This is what a lager can be instead of a Heineken or a Bud, whatever. They
Yeah.
suddenly realize, oh shit, this is what a lager can be. Like proper Pilsner, proper lagers. And they start, trying more shit, and it's getting more popular. It's not on the level as it is in the States,
No.
but we're getting there. And these breweries are also now, fun fact, I may have mentioned them before, Buck's Brewery, they are like 20 minutes away from me or so. About 5 or 6 years ago, they said we're never doing a Bock ever again. Ever. Because of the bad rep that Bocks have in the Netherlands. In the last 2, 3 years, because they are fans of lower fermented beers like lagers, pilsner, any kind of lager, they were like, "Fuck it, you know what? We're gonna do a proper." And now I'm gonna mess up this word.
Decoction.
Thank you. Double decoction lager
Mash.
mash.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it the old school traditional way. I haven't tried it yet. I have the can. I haven't tried it yet, but their lagers are fucking amazing. So I trust
Yeah.
them to do it.
Yeah, and one thing I guess the case over here in the United States is, well, since we do have a lot of breweries that do lagers, we have a lot of breweries that do have lager setups. Some people make lagers, and you can make a lager fine in a regular, you know what I mean, fermenter. You know what I mean, but it's a lot of the places that have like traditional like horizontal tanks and stuff like that have been doing a lot of, hey, shock, people that make lagers make better lagers, you know what I mean, as opposed to someone who's never made a lager before. No shit, Sherlock. But yeah, it's been really nice to see that kind of boon over here. I mean, we have breweries that open up here that's all they do now. That's all they do is make lager. That's it. They do nothing but lager, and they thrive. So it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to move over to the States.
There you
There you
go.
go.
I got a room. You can live in here. You want to open these suckers?
I want to
Do
open
you
these
want to talk
suckers.
about it at all,
What?
or just you want to crack them, or you want to talk about them? There's really not much to
Um,
talk about,
I
is
think
there?
I think I think we just talk about them while we crack them.
Yeah. We got 7.4% versus what, 8 and change? 8.2.
Yeah. So it's. I think the first thing that we should quickly mention is, and we can do that while we pour, is that one of the biggest differences is that we have to keep in mind is that the Aventinus is a Weizenbock, meaning it is
Yes.
basically a top fermented bock, sort of, but also not.
Well, I was going to say, is it? I had never looked into it personally myself, but they could have certainly did it a lager
A
ferment.
lower, yeah, a lager ferment. That's where I was going to, because it does use, as far as I know, especially looking at the flavor profile, not just Weizen, as in Weizen is not a color, it's wheat.
Wheat.
But they also use the yeast strain, I believe, because you get that typical. We're going to get to the aroma, but as far as I know, they also use the typical Weizen yeast strain, which you can, of course, still lower ferment if you want to.
Yeah, it's still not a lager. You're just doing a cold ferment on a ale yeast.
Mm-hmm. So, I already got both of them poured. Also, we just talked about this. Hooray for us for randomly, apparently, without discussing it, choosing the same type of glassware.
Yep. No plating here. Just ended up being correct. And oddly enough, what we have discerned through randomness
Yeah,
is that we might have right around the same dates too, because our dating is completely different on both of ours. But the little bit of half-ass internet research we did before this says that it might be close.
just checked on something. No yeast cake? Yeast cake. This,
Still have a ton
this is
left in my. I think you have. I think you have the regular size beach. Or I have smaller ones.
could be, but this one does have bottle conditioning.
Okay.
So that's interesting to note. Um, color wise, you just put them in. I think for people on camera, they're going to see like no difference.
But the Korbinian is definitely darker.
It's so much fucking darker. It goes really towards like classic, almost porter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can almost get like, especially if you put it in front of a light, you
Yeah,
can understand where the wheat is. You know what I mean? Because they
yeah.
both look dark, but there's only so dark you can get with the wheat. Because they're so that's you could tell that is definitely the case. And if you look at the heads, I mean, my Corbinian head is a khaki color, whereas the Aventinus is very close to stone white for me.
Yeah. In comparison, it's definitely a darker, not like hella white, but it's definitely comparison. This if this was given to me like somebody poured this and just put it in front of me, not telling me whatever, I would have said that's like somebody's, maybe six and change in terms of ABV porter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here,
I'm
let's
talking
do
about
it.
the Korbinian, by the way. The Korbinian really has that porter vibe.
I'm doing
This,
that so they can see the coloration and the head difference. You can see
it,
it when it cascades down. The Corbinian
yeah,
is absolutely darker.
absolutely, totally. Am I? I'm not. Yeah, no. For a second there, I thought my image
We're
was.
flipped now. We're in line.
Yeah. Thank God. So let's get a nose on that Korbinian. I think. Let's see what that does.
Man, I love Doppelbock so much. Um,
You know what? You know what
so
always. Yeah.
go ahead. No, you go.
You know what always strikes me. Whenever I'm in the shop and people ask me about, the difference between several types of port, and you're talking about sweetness, and any kind of port will be sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a Bach will definitely have like a sweet level. When I smell this, I smell like toffee and caramel, but like adult toffee and caramel. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Not like
Yep.
the overtly sugary for kids. Like it's 90% sugar in them. Like of course toffee is sugar, caramel is sugar, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it smells like adult confectionery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
No, it's like
fucking
if you made so if you were gonna make you made a pile of toffee, okay,
yeah.
and somehow like hardened that and then reduced it to a particle dust.
Yeah.
Use that instead of sugar and brown bread.
Oh, fuck me.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's has, and that's where your adulty desserty comes into play because it has those adulty desserty vibes, but it's not dessert. It's just a sweeter thing that
Exactly.
can be desserty.
And then under that is like that big, like plummy, um, like red, ripe forest fruits, like that fruitiness going on. And then beyond that, you start to getting that sort of like that roasted stuff. You get like it's not like espresso coffee notes, but there's this lovely little coffee thing going on. There's some dark chocolate and that big roasted brown bread character.
Yeah, take everything that is an adult level sweet, caramelize it a little bit, kind of
That's
spread it us over across a piece of warm, nice brown bread, and let's call it a day. Breakfast in a glass, dinner in a glass.
I love you. I don't know if this is by habit checks, but this is something that often use as a descriptionary for things like Bach's, but also like Vienna lagers or like Märzen's. Whenever I talk about the sweetness that it has and the breadiness, my first comparison is take warm dark brown toast and spread
Hmm.
some honey over
Yep.
that, and that activates the heat, activates the honey a little bit, and then you get like
Yeah.
this. That's exactly you use the same description. I love you.
Yeah, because it's honestly because it makes sense, especially in my brain. So I'm a kid. I'm the youngest of five.
Mm.
When you're a parent, more specifically a parent of several kids, you find desserty things that you think are candy and desserty that your kids do not. That's
Mm.
called adult desserty. So that way, when you want to have something nice and sweet, it's not gone because your little crap kids ravaged through all your candy and ate it. So
Right.
there's score bars, there's the brown bread with honey, there's all these things that adults view as desserty that kids do not because it stays around and they can actually effing have it. That's where this one lies in.
Fuck yes. And underneath, I'm not going to call this like crisp and clean, like the lagers that you would usually, think of with a lager. You're talking about your Helles, you're talking about your Czech pilsners, your German pilsners. But it does have like the moment you smell it, the first thing that pops in your head after what we just talked about is like drinkability. It's
I
not like
Yeah, I think that's a little Pavlovian response on your end,
could be.
in the sense that like it's absolutely a clean, hyper clean, well made beer. There's zero flaws, there's zero negativity on it. You know this beer, you know who made it. I think it's hard. Again, I talk about sweetness and talk about bittering on the smell. You can't smell sweet, you can't smell bittering, but you smell is the precursor to sweetness and the precursor to bittering, and the
Yes,
precursor
sir.
to a clean, well made beer is zero flaw, and you know it's made from world class brewery. So I think that cleanliness of drinkability, we'll find out when we actually drink it, is more of a Pavlovian response than actually smell it. Or, hey, you Hollandaise people might be able to smell clean.
We do know a thing or two about cleanliness. That just I don't even know what that means. You
So
want
you're
to
next
get
to
a
godliness.
there you go. You want to get a sniff on that.
Yes,
Um, and
yes.
now I just want to mention one thing because before we even sniff, you said something because we've tried recording this over like maybe 6 or 8 weeks now
Oh, I was going to say this. This is what I forgot to say. Go ahead.
because you mentioned something. We can do this a little bit later because these beers are very festive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had it this year yet because I saved my bottle as well, but I also wasn't drinking during Christmas this year.
Mm-hmm.
Schneider Mein Aventinus is one of three Christmas beers that I need to have every Christmas. I skipped two of them this year because of reasons. The three beers that I need to have is what's the one called again from Dupont? Avec Bon Vous. Avec Bon
Okay.
Vous is a very festive beer to me.
Mm-hmm.
The St. Bernardus Christmas Ale, or if I can't find it, any proper Belgian Christmas ale. This year I had the Straffe Hendrik Christmas blend. Showed you the picture in the chat. Or maybe like a Gouden Carolus. And my Aventinus.
Yeah.
It,
For me, it's a celebrator is mine. Just because I actually had a tradition. I started with Micah. Like I crack a celebrator, and then we'd write our names on the bottom of the little yak ornament, and I'd hang it
Mhm.
on the tree. So I'd have a little celebrator from 2002. But yeah, last year discontinued the ornaments. They don't exist anymore.
I know. I have a bottle over there. I want to review it because I realized Celebrator isn't on my channel. And the
Yeah.
first thing I noticed when I bought it was like, where the
Yeah.
fuck is the
I
ornament?
wrote them. They're like, no, sorry, we don't. They're like, we don't do it anymore. But if you want, give us your address and we'll send you a bunch. I was like, no. I'm like, this is like a tradition I started with my kid. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So this is the first year I haven't done it. Guten Carlos, not the Christmas one, just the Guten Van Kaiser Blau. And then I'm a Christmas beer. I don't know, probably Mill High Life or something. I don't know.
Like champagne and beer, right? There you go. I'm gonna go see what this thing does in the nose, man, because I'm so
Yep.
fucking curious. Yeah,
I mean,
that's like
to me, it's very different, but very similar at the same time because it
yeah.
is a Bach, but you know that wheat is unmistakable. I almost get to the point on Aventinus. I feel like I get almost like a anisey kind of thing off of it whenever I smell this beer. Like,
Definitely like that spicy thing. It can be. This is where association comes into play because you call it aniseedy. Other people might get more like a clove thing. But for me, what I
mm-hmm,
really get is, and that's what I'm talking about with the yeast. And there's definitely yeast cake in the bottom of this. This has that classic ripe banana clove thing that like a Weizen would have for me.
mm-hmm,
Which I said, it's not just Weizenbock as in they used wheat. There's definitely that similar yeast strain that they would use for a Weizen.
yeah,
And that makes it for me so festive because it's got that plummy, caramelly, roasty thing going on, and then you get like the banana, almost like banana Foster thing going on with the caramel vibe, and then you get like that clove spice thing going, which just associates its association for Christmas with me. For me, this is like Christmas in a glass.
yeah, it is, and it's very much on a Christmas beer as far as it's presented and given out to people. It's not like, hey, here's our Schneider Aventinus pre-Christmas beer. It's not, but it's
It's not
very much the way it smells. It's giving you a lot of gingerbread housey stuff with no
yeah,
ginger. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
No, it smells fantastic. Again, it's been a hot spell since I've done these, and I'm super excited. And the thing I was going to mention, which is what you kind of alluded to, the Christmassy thing, which is we talked about doing this, and then I was like, we push it off. Eventually, and I just said, screw it. I'm like, these are kind of Christmas beers for me anyway. Let's do it around Christmas time. You're like, hell yeah. We didn't even think about that, talk about that, but it ended up being, the way we both thought about these beers. So
Before we take a sip from Korbinian, I just really want to.
side by side huffs.
It's there's exactly what you said. There's like so many similarities, and
Yeah,
still,
it's like a similar DNA. It's like your dad had and dad and mom had you, and then your dad divorced your mom, and then had a baby with somebody else. They're like, yeah, you're definitely half me, but you're definitely half something else.
do you know? In the meantime, by the way, why I'm convinced that this is properly lagered, and why I'm not 100% convinced whether or not this is lower lagered like lower. If you look at the bottom of the glass, this is definitely like clear beer, the Korbinian, and the Aventinus definitely has like that ale murky thing going on.
I don't know.
Anyway, but
From you, well, you know what? I'm cheating though. I'm holding them up to bright ass lights. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
I'm fuck me. These things are gorgeous.
I'm thirsty.
I'm thirsty. We've been yapping for like 20 minutes, and we have not had a sip of beer. So
Yeah.
here we go, brother. Cheers,
Here's.
Clinky.
Mm. That doesn't suck.
That's much more rich on that plummy, figgy, datey thing than I remember.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad
Super
thing.
rich.
Fuck
Super
me.
rich. Like very like. It's weird because 100% lager. So because it finishes relatively quick. I mean, there's a lingering flavor profile because of how rich it is, but it drinks real easy, especially being 7% in a dark beer.
Mm-hmm.
And considering they're probably now, for me at least, closer to 60 than 50 because they've been out for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
but man, it washes over your palate and like just clings there. Like it's not sticky, it's not icky, it's not like dense or anything like that. It's full. It's like it's full in a way that it's proper for like a Bock, Doppelbock to me. That's we were talking about earlier, separating the Salvatore, the Paulaner kind of thing from these, and that's the difference for me. Those tend to be a little bit more watery, a little bit more quick, a little bit more true
Mhm.
to like a high, like a darker, almost like they're darker box, they're richer box, not double box. Whereas this is what really needs.
And
It has to have this mouthfeel in order to be a double box.
what surprised me is because I looked at the ABV and I forgot about this. I think the Eyinger Celebrato is labeled as a double bock, even though
But
it's
it's
like
six and
six,
change.
6 and change. I think it's 6.7, if I remember correctly. This is almost a percent higher in ABV, and you can tell because you just talked about that. Not sticky. It drinks clean. It's like sticky toffee date pudding without being sticky, if that makes sense.
No, it has this richness to it, but I think because it's made so well and so clean, and probably has a lot to do with their water profile that they never even probably thought about. Um, and then it's it's a lager, but it's like it has this richness. It pulls off the extremely cool trick of having a full mouthfeel but finish relatively quick and clean like a lager. Hey, listen, this is not crispy boy status. This is not a super hyper like drinkable. Well, it is drinkable, but in a different sense. But it's lager through and through, but it just has that richness. Again, dinner in a glass. It's what it's trying to be. It's what it's trying to do, and it's pulling it off in spades.
For me, Korbinian is like again the proof that if I when I think you and you just nailed that, when I think of a real double bock, this is exactly what it is. This touches, and here is actually the only negative thing about it is that drinkability. Because after this is gone, I wouldn't
Yeah,
let
you're
crack
gonna.
wine.
Yeah, it's called dangerous, and that's what I mean. That's pretty much all lagers, but yeah, when you get
Yeah,
to these relatively higher ABV ones, especially if you drank this, like honestly, and this a lot of people, I don't think they don't believe this, but take a heftier beer, take like a Guinness or even a Doppelbock, and get that, put it in your fridge. Get that sucker to like 38, 40 degrees and crack that sucker on a hot summer day. That is one of the most refreshing drinks you'll ever have. So temperature plays a big role in it. But man, yeah, I could definitely put down. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Uh,
It would be an interesting morning to say the least. 'Cause-
oh man.
Mm. And also, what this, by the way, really shows to me is even though that is technically not a lager, is the similarities between classic double box and things like the classic porter.
Mm-hmm.
We've sort of really skewed the lines when it comes to porter and stouts, especially in the imperial range. Like
Mm-hmm.
a brewery will label it an imperial porter or an imperial stout, and you're just sitting there going like, you know what? I'll believe you. I don't know. When I think
Yeah.
about that, the level of roast and the level of drinkability a classic porter should have, it really is very close to what this is. Like, the working man's beer, and you can just quaff it, and it has much more flavor, of course, than your generic typical lager, but it still has that quaffability. I love that word. I can use it
Yeah, I
like 10
know. That's
times.
such a great word.
Oh, it's fantastic. For those who don't know, Terry Pratchett, the late great Terry Pratchett, once described what is quaffing a drink. Quaffing a drink is drinking it in such a way that more of it ends up in your beard and over your shirt than it actually does in your mouth. That's quaffing. I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, the similarities between these classic darker lagers, ales, darker beers, um, especially throughout Europe, you know, England still being part of Europe in a way, is that they have so many similarities. They're sort of like in this niche where you think of like, I want something that I can just pound down. bottle after bottle, but I still want something with a little bit more complexity, a little bit more flavor profile, and something that actually gets my taste buds going. Like, ooh, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a Venn diagram out there where Doppelbocks and like proper ABV porter kind of bisect
Hmm.
each other,
Yeah.
both from a beer style and drinkability pours. Because there's some porters that can get very much bocky without being a bock. Now that being said, there's a lot of porter and there's a lot of stout that have much more subdivisions within them. Whereas I talk about Doppelbock being like a two thing. Says there's like how many different porters are there? Like 9 billion different porters styles at least. You know what I mean? Whether it be
Definitely.
Baltic or Irish or you know what I mean, extra dry this and whatever. But no,
Sports stick.
man, like so when I got into beer, I got into beer through the Belgian door. I got into beer through drinking Belgian quads. Doubles were my favorite, and quickly moved to Doppelbock. It was one of my favorite styles, and it's one of those things where over the years it's kind of been something I don't drink an absolute ton of, just because just for lower ABV and just throwing some hops in there. But when I get back to revisiting stuff like that, is when I start really getting angry at myself for not buying this stuff more. So, but yeah, as
Right.
far as this beer goes, just to kind of seal it home as far as what I think about it, mouth feels exceptional. Just this level of richness and roastiness, both exactly what you said from that kind of the figgy, plummy, bready kind of sweet caramel, toffee-ish kind of thing, but without getting too sweet, with never getting in dessert mode, but giving you hints of dessert mode and a super drinkable package. Absolutely fantastic.
My God, man. Like, will you listen to how he describes that? That is fucking brilliant. Speaking, by the way, of that Venn diagram, there was one beer missing there of that porter double bock thing, and it's one of those styles that I always regret when I drink one again. I'm like, why am I not drinking and buying and buying and drinking this more? The Dunkel.
Yeah, well, I drink a decent amount of Dunkel. That's the thing, though. I always
I
well, we have this.
fuck him.
We have
Of
this in
course.
the States. We have Von Trapp Brewing. They make a ton of different beers, but they do mostly lagers, and their Dunkel is world class. And I get a six of this anywhere I go for $10. It's a staple in my fridge, so I drink Dunkel on the reg.
It's a good thing that I like you so much.
Yeah, they have this the tiny beer fridge. It has like two shelves, well, three shelves. The bottom one will fit like bombers and 750s in cans or whatever. The middle one is strictly for like hazy cans. The top shelf only fits 12-ounce cans.
Yeah.
So my top shelf is literally Dunkel, Miller High Life, and then whatever 12-ounce can I have.
I have to say though, I always forget to buy them, but I can. If you ever hear some
Is
noises in the
there a
background,
shop in your town or something?
so I don't know what it's like for America, but
Yeah, there's fireworks on New Year's.
New
People
Year's,
start
but
early.
people can legally buy it ever since today. And here's another kicker: I live right next to Germany, right?
Okay.
Germany has like much more impressive fireworks legally that you can buy there. They're not allowed here in the Netherlands, and they're much cheaper. There was a 3 kilometer traffic jam at the border today because we have border controls now. It's a long story. Um, but anyway, there was just because people are buying fireworks in Germany, and of course bringing alcohol and stuff. That's fun, isn't it? People are out there
Mm.
buying fireworks and alcohol for cheap.
It's like
Yay!
you're in America.
Oh yeah, that's where that. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
throw
what I
some
want
guns
to
and
say is,
schools in the mix, and you're there.
oh no, no, we have more issues at schools these days than we're willing to. Ours are more knives than guns, but it happens a lot. What I quickly wanted to say is, you were talking about the Von Trapp beer. I can get on average German Dunkels in like half a liter bottles for like €2. So that's like fucking hell. 2.5
Yeah.
liters of Dunkel for like €10 is not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's the only thing that sucks over here is that there's a lot of really good lager breweries, but their prices are a little bit high.
Mm,
Some of the bigger breweries over here, whether it be Notch or Schilling or some of the bigger lager breweries, or newer lager breweries, I should say, they'll do their Dunkel, but it'll be $15 for a 4 pack of Pounders. So it's like, come on, man. You know,
Speaking of prices, the Korbinian and the Aventinus, what would they cost?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I forget, but I want to say $6 a piece.
That's not too shabby for imported beer.
No, for imported beer, no. I found Aventinus, I know for sure, for close to $3.99 before, a
See,
bottle. But now it's like, when I buy, honestly, not that I'm wealthy, but when I buy these beers, I never look at the price tag because they're
no,
always cheap. So I don't even pay attention to it. Like, I'm like, oh, this is
no,
not going to be expensive. I don't even look.
exactly. For us, it would be like somewhere between 250 to €3 the bottle.
Okay.
Some will be a little bit cheaper than 250. It depends on where you go to, because like unfortunately, supermarkets they are like price fighters when it comes to that. They can have direct lines to importers, and
Yeah.
it'll
Same
be
thing over here. When I buy them at a supermarket, it's
yeah.
always way cheaper than if I buy it at a mom
No,
and pop
it
shop.
makes sense. It completely makes sense. But like average for like bottle shops for like where I work, I average somewhere between 250 and three. So yeah.
Want to dive into
Yeah.
this sucker?
Yes, please. Bro, wait. How are the nerd sense? They're doing this. They're going like the sideways clinky. They do this these days. They go like clinky or something. I don't know. Cheers, bro.
It smells so good.
Mm.
First impressions. That spicy, that Christmas Sands ginger spice is prevalent. The mouthfeel is nice. It's not nearly as full and rich as over here, but it's not thin by any stretch of the imagination, which makes you actually think there's a little bit more lager vibes over here because of that.
Even though it's slightly higher in ABV, and it
Yep.
has wheat in it, which are both signs that would usually lead to, bigger mouthfeel. I wonder if it's actually bigger mouthfeel. Christ, can you hear that in the background?
A little bit. Not. It's not too bad. StreamYard does a pretty good job of getting those ancillary noises out of here.
It was good. I wonder if it's more the mouthfeel thing or more that sort of like it veers towards the car-
It sounds like
caramel.
somebody's lightly knocking on your window. It's not that loud.
No, good, good, good. But it has sort of like that because of that caramelly, sticky, not sticky vibe. I wonder if you talk Pavlovian. I wonder if it gives you the impression of a thicker mouthfeel because of that flavor profile without actually having that bigger mouthfeel. You know what I mean? Or is that just.
Yeah, it's weird because you can't actually have mouthfeel without ABV. It's almost impossible to have. Like a lot of people when they drink their non-alcoholic beers, they're always like something's missing. I'm like, yeah, it's because it's the alcohol's missing. That's what's missing. And alcohol just doesn't get you drunk. It actually provides mouthfeel and a lot of other things. Um,
Oh, I explain this to people in the shop all the time. Um, mostly when I'm talking about whiskeys, I'm talking about, whether it be a Scotch whiskey, like single malt blends, bourbons, go the fucking distance. She's going the distance. A higher ABV doesn't necessarily mean more flavor, but alcohol is like salt. If you have no salt, your food will be bland.
yeah,
And you're going to have to find tricks like working with extra spices or whatever to get more flavor in there. Or you're going to roast things off or caramelize things so you get like Maillard reaction, so you get natural sugar, you get flavor.
yeah,
Um, and a higher ABV will definitely increase, like with more salt, it will increase the intensity of the flavor. But like with salt, if you have too much, it's going to overpower. And especially with like whiskey, a lot of people are going like, I need my whiskey at cask strength or barrel proof. If the ABV is too high, it's going to have an effect, and you could have like this bitterness in the finish with like cask strength whiskeys. The good thing with whiskey is you can lower that ABV a little bit with like a few drops of water. The same thing goes for your beers, and a lot of people these days go like, oh yeah, my 14% ABV beer, it's so delicious, it's so great, it's so amazing. It's a bit boozy. People have sort of started to accept boozy in high ABV beers as a good sign. It's not necessarily always a good sign. It means that there's something in the finish that's overpowering the rest of the flavor.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, beer. It's so cool. Like honestly, I was really pumped to do side by side because even when like I had a hard time finding the Aventinus, and you're like, oh, we could do something else. I'm like, no. I'm like, we have to do these two together. You know what I mean? I'm like, because it's always been a side by side I've wanted to do, and while I've done it, no, I've had these beers in the same night before, but I've never sat down and chatted with somebody about it over it. And I think it's a really cool kind of combination because, like we are saying, beginning, there's so many similarities, but there's so many differences, but they're so bridged together. Like I'm super pumped to do this, the cuvee at the end of this, but just to kind of like just tie this sucker down as far as the Weizenbock goes.
So I
The
did find
perception.
one. Oh, sorry.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. No,
I
go.
just want to say I did swirl. There is still. I don't think you guys can see it, but there's still like a big residue in the bottom of the bottle, and I swirled it, and I poured some.
Yeah, mine definitely has it on there. Let me see if it has it on this one over here.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
nothing on over here.
So I'm pretty convinced that this is a top fermented Bock. I'd have to look up the details, but I'm pretty sure the way that this thing
Well, one's
reacted.
bottle conditioned and one's force carbonated. I mean, it could be, it
Yeah,
could be
I
a couple
know.
different things. You don't want to think about that.
There's a few other things that just make. Sorry, I was interrupting your final thoughts on the.
No,
Um,
I was just going to say, just so this actually is a review,
mm,
instead of us just talking to each other about how much you like the beer.
mm.
Um, it's so they're so similar. The mouthfeel varyingly different, feels fuller over here, but with the higher ABV, it could just be a perceptional thing. But less of a fuller mouthfeel, but still not thin. That spiciness is really what kind of separates the two. But in the grand scheme of things, you taste such a similar DNA. There's such a similar DNA, and I don't know if it's me or you, but actually, it's the opposite, which is quite right. Or did I? No, I think I mixed mine up. Let me look. No, I didn't. I was gonna say, oh, this one doesn't have legs on, or this one has legs on it. Oh no, you were right. Right? No, see, look at my one glass compared to the other.
Mm.
But yours are the opposite, I think.
No, this is my Korbinian.
Yeah, this is my Korbinian.
That's funny because my Korbinian, but this could be a thing about glass as well, right? If your
True,
glass,
true. That's why I kind of stopped talking about it. I was like, I need to be talking about my ass here.
because if you look at like the head retention and the lacing on my if you swirl it around like this, then my Aventinus has like great lacing and good head retention. Now the
Yeah, it's
head
probably more my glasses are dirty hot garbage than anything else. But
could be, but
okay, so let's do this because I don't have long for the world. I actually have some stuff to do after
I'm
this.
gonna
But
go get a third glass because you wanted to do a cuvee.
yes, let's do that.
I'm gonna quickly grab a glass.
Okay, I'm gonna do mine right now.
Yeah, I wanted to drink more of it separately because
Yeah, you don't want to do it all. Yeah,
now
that's why I didn't pour that.
keep in mind for anybody who's watching, there is a chance that we're now mixing. There is a chance we're not sure because as always, we're so good at the research thing, aren't we? There
Yeah,
is a chance that we're mixing a lager and an ale.
nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. So let's see what this does on the nose, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of not to be on the nose, literally and figuratively, but it smells like both beers. There's a little bit of that spiciness from the Aventinus. There's that caramelized kind of coffee thing from the Korbinian. Done and done.
Literally.
Yeah, usually it's not like that. Usually one beer will dominate or there'll be a heavy leaning towards one. To me, it comes right down the middle.
I might want to say that the Corbinians, like that sticky, like dried fruit thing, like that's dried a fig date raisin thing, is a little bit more powerful than the spiciness of the Aventinus, but that could just be me. I don't know. But
Mm, guess what?
oddly enough,
It smells good.
something I didn't pick up in both beers in the cuvee. Is it me or does it have a slightly metallic tone to it?
No, I'm not getting that.
Maybe that's this glass then. Could be this glass.
Yeah, I'm not getting that. To me,
Okay.
the more I huff on it, the more the Korbinian comes through a little bit with that richness that you were talking about.
Hmm.
But outside of that, it is definitely, it's like a 50-50, 60-40 thing going on for me.
I like it. I'm gonna taste it. Cheers, bro.
Cheers. Oh, wait, sorry.
Oh yeah, clinky. Yeah, that does not suck.
No, I like them both. I like them both by themselves more than I like them mixed.
Agreed.
Um,
But if
but
for
there's
shits
something
and
fun
gigs,
about the.
if you have
But
like one of those huge liter steins that they use at some of those
mhm,
uh, Oktoberfests, and you would pour like one bottle of each into it, it would not be a bad evening.
no, no. You
But
drink like 70 or 80 of those, you'd be just all right.
and here's the thing, and now I'm going to do the worst thing that you could do in a side by side like this. Which one would you choose if you had to?
Corbinian. No, you know what? Right now, in this day, today, I would pick Corbinian. But if
Yes.
you ask me this question on another day, I think I would pick Aventinus. Um, I am a sucker. If you said you had to drink one Bock for the rest of your life, Doppelbock or Weizenbock, I'm going to pick a Doppelbock. I love
Okay.
Weizenbocks, but for me, Doppelbock is a winner. So that in and of itself makes it win. But there's certain times I love Aventinus. And honestly, I love me the way Doppelbock's age, but I love the way Weizenbach's more specifically Aventinus ages. Do you get the paper wrapped ones over there at all?
I once had an aged barrique. Do you know the
Yeah,
barrique?
yeah, it's a wine barrel aged one. Yeah, but do you
They're
have the base Aventinus?
oh no,
Do you have
yeah,
paper wrapped ones?
there's an empty bot because I switch things around in my so-called studio.
Mhm.
But yeah, my old background, there's one of the aged bottles there.
No, I'm
But
saying, do they sell the aged ones on purpose over there
yes,
with the
yes,
wrap? Okay, that's what I was asking. Because for those that don't know, like it was actually quite kind of stroke of genius. It seems like what Aventinus did or Schneider and Sons did was they had a bunch of extra stock and go, what the hell do we do with these? Well, they took them and individually wrapped them in paper in the paper, and it just has the date repeated over and over on it. So it'll be like 2008 or 2012, and it's just wrapped in this paper, and they sell them as individual aged bottles now, and they're really fun. They're really fun beers, and I can usually get those aged ones over here for $7.
fuck me. Yeah, those are fucking amazing. Those are some of the best beers ever. Maybe that's one of the things that if this is indeed top fermented, maybe ales, except for one or two exceptions, Sammy Claus, ales on as a sort of like a rule age better than lagers do because
Mm,
there's more components going on, sort of.
uh, no. I wouldn't say that. I would say as a whole, it's extremely hard to get high ABV lager, and I would say the ABV of ales being higher lends itself to being ageable more than lagers are better than ales. You don't see a lot of a plus double digit lager. That's what you know what I mean. You don't see them, but you see a ton of double digit ales, and then combine that with lagers tend to be simplified, simplified in the sense that they tend to be core four and done. Whereas, even though that's great for aging, but when you're talking about other beers, high ABV, tons of hops, you know what I mean? Things that'll help the beer age better. It's just that it's not lager's fault. I don't think. I think it's just the environment it lives in. Ales just do better.
I want people to look at Matt's face now because he's going to be so curious as to how these things work out when I review them. And I might do one of them in English then. I have two things that I bought this week that I'm going to review soon. And they are still below the double digits, but they're like high 8% in ABV. And it's sort of aged. One is a Chardonnay aged Imperial Pilsner. and the other one is a bourbon barrel aged dark lager.
There you go. Fuck yeah, dude.
Both like in the 8% ABVs. They even said on the bourbon barrel aged dark lager, we advise a 14 degrees Celsius drinking temperature, which I just thought was the idea of a dark lager that you have to drink at like imperial stouts levels of temperature.
So do the conversion for me. 14% Celsius is what? 50
Yes.
F?
Can I just quickly
I can do it. Hey Siri, why aren't you listening to me?
57.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh wow. Wow.
That's the temperature that they advise to drink it at. A dark
That's
lager,
weird.
like
That's
that's
weird.
fucking mind blowing for me.
Why didn't they just say serve it at room temp? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. But I'm stoked for those two because the idea of barrel aged lagers is already something I love. And
yeah.
not to mention having them somewhat higher in ABV, and then on like just the entire concept of an imperial pilsner on a Chardonnay barrel. Like what the fuck? I love that shit. But to quickly get back to the favorite one, so this is one of my go-to Christmas ales, right? And
Yeah, I
I
didn't ask
think
you. What's your favorite? Yeah.
this is for me like, and if the Nerd Sense guys are watching, because we did the love letters to all the Weihenstephaners, I didn't tell you this before we started because you may know, you may not know. I am a huge Weihenstephaner fanboy. The best, the best Hefeweizen in the world is the Weihenstephaner. It beats Erdinger, it beats Paulaner, it basically beats all of them to me. The Vitus, I don't know if you ever had the Vitus.
Yeah.
It's just to die for. And if you ever ask on a good day what Mike's favorite beer from Nerd Sense, one of Mike's favorite beers is the Cristal from
Oh,
Weihenstephaner.
Crystal Ice. Yeah,
That's
that is
it.
so freaking good.
It is if you ever want quaffability, drinkability, but
That
flavor.
honestly, that's my favorite beer they make. The Crystal Ice.
Mm. So I'm hoping they're seeing this and they're like, at least Thomas picked the Schneider Weisse, but this to me is divine. It's
Fun
nothing
fact.
bad, but this is just.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Fun
drink
fact
this.
though, out of all of the Doppelbocks in the world, we have to pick the one that doesn't end in nader.
Isn't that something? Jesus, he
It's like
quaffed it.
literally the only one that doesn't end in nader. Every
Isn't it?
other one does.
Naders. They're all nadering it. Look, I hate to do this to my beloved. And for those who are watching, yes, if you ever really want a great beer to just have a fun time with, get a 4 or a 6 pack of the Icebock Aventinus. And you will after buy if you buy a 6 pack and after the third bottle, I can guarantee you will have no more memories in the morning. Like
Yeah,
literally,
it's like doing absinthe. It's
you
like
won't
Bavarian absinthe.
literally you won't remember drinking the first one.
There's a place by me that has a bunch of old stuff. That's not uncommon in New Jersey. There's a bunch of old stuff everywhere.
Mhm.
But this is just kind of like it's 90% regular stuff. And by 90% of regular stuff, I mean Bud, Coors, blah, blah, blah. But this is just assumptions on my end. It seems like at one point, whoever owned the place kind of dug craft beer, but then it got sold. Okay. So it's like the new owners don't really even understand what they have. So there's all these old ass dusty things for like they just put price tags. They just randomly put stuff. They're like, we don't know what this. I can get
Don't
like
do this.
5 to 8 year old icebox for $3 a piece. Like and it never ends. Like every time I go in there, I'd grab one, and every time I go back, there's more on the shelf than when I left last time. I was like, this is the best. It's like the giving tree.
That's called fucking winning at life.
Yeah, yeah. So it's and there's like 5 places like that around me, but this one place they have a bunch of old Lost Abbey barrel aged stuff, and they have the ice box, and it's just like I guess every time I grab one, I'm like I always go, how much is it? They go $2.99. I was like, okay, I'll take one.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Sorry. I need to stop saying that word because at some point YouTube is going to pick up like, where is that weird audio thing coming from? And this entire video is going to get banned.
Well, you know the whole language thing is crazy there, right?
Isn't it?
No, they have they actually they have. I don't know if they implemented across all channels, but they are now doing real time audio translation on everything.
Jeez, that's
So
weird.
you can, instead of getting closed caption, you click, you know, Spanish, and then I just speak in Spanish.
No, I
Yeah.
haven't even noticed that yet.
What?
I
Because you
haven't
probably
even
haven't
noticed.
switched it. Oh no, you probably switch stuff every now. But I got an email from them. Now I belong to the YouTube Partners program or whatever the hell it is. It's like it's
Oh,
something different. But
okay. I don't. Maybe
yeah,
that's why you.
yeah. So I don't know, but
Wow.
any lasting thoughts or last thoughts on these suckers before we
Well,
call it night?
last thought is first off, I want to say one thing. If you're not drinking double box, be
Fuck
it
you.
like the OG
Oops,
Doppelbock
sorry.
or like Weizenbock Doppelbock, you're missing out in life and you're missing out in winning and you're missing out in being a goddamn fucking legend.
Okay,
Second off,
I'm going to stop you there for a second. If you've been drinking beer for a long time, if you're on this journey and your path hasn't brought you there, that's fine. Get there at
yeah,
your own pace. But
sure.
if you've been drinking for years and you go, I love beer, and you're not drinking these, then you're hot piece of garbage. Anyway, go ahead.
This is something I often so I say this so often, especially there's this huge category right now of beer drinkers. They're all like in their mid 20s, and they, thanks to social media, they drink like they'll drink like a Bud Light with my dad every now and then through social media by using the word beer every now and then in text messages. Suddenly, they're pushed things into like hazies and stouts and barrel aged and pastry sours, and that's what they're drinking. And you just skip like a whole like millions
Yeah.
of years of education on beer drinking, and this is one of those steps.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those steps. The other thing I wanted to say, talking about legends, this guy right here, this gorgeous motherfucker, right
That
there,
guy right there, Mr.
that guy right
McGinley,
there.
right there,
Yeah, there he
right
is.
there.
I just want you guys to say, if you're watching this on my channel, go follow him. If you're watching this on my channel, I'm 99% sure you know who he is. But if you don't know who he is, and if you really want to have like a huge backlog of amazing reviews that you could, you know, just like binge watch on a lazy Sunday, follow Massive Beers. Follow Matt on, where are you at, dude?
Everywhere, just type massive beers.
There you go. Even
Or you
podcast.
mean we're location United States? Podcast. I didn't do the podcast as much with the kid, but Beer Massif
Exactly.
is the podcast. But you can find it. Just type in massive beers, you'll find stuff. And I can say the same thing for Mr. Thomas Opent over here, the Hollandaise giant that is 4'5". He speaks better English than you and me, all our North American viewers, I should say. So he covers a lot of. You cover like a crazy amount of beers we can get over here. Like stuff that I can't get that is made in the United States. Somehow you guys get it. I don't understand how that works. I would say ditto. Go check this dude out and follow stuff because he is quite a bit more refined and articulate than any of us SOBs here
I
in the
think I think
States.
I think what I would always like to say about myself is I'm quite loquacious.
And he likes Star Trek. So that's
Oh,
kind of
Star
cool.
Trek would fucking win. Sorry. um, Matt,
Yes.
thank you very much. This
Thank you,
was
man. I would
wonderful.
actually love to go longer. I just can't. I got to go watch my kid. My wife's going to go out to dinner with her
Oh,
brother.
fuck, dude, it's like for me, it's like 9:30 p.m.
Midnight. Yeah.
20
Yeah.
Three.
It's 3:30 in the afternoon here.
I haven't even had dinner yet, so I'm just probably gonna either eat a bag of chips, crisps, chips. What do you got? You say I say chips, or
You say
heat it
chips.
up and then throw in a
Everybody
throw in
says chips except for. Or everybody says chips instead of those idiots
Oh,
over in
you
England.
wanna have one better? We do call them chips, but you know what the Dutch pronunciation is?
What?
Chips.
Chips? Ah, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Sh-
Yeah.
You have to go like shit, ships.
Ships.
There you go. Fucking hell. You go have a great evening. All
I
my
can't,
love to you.
dude. I'm gonna tell you right now. I can't
Mhm.
wait to hang out in real life with you someday.
Oh, we need to do that, man. 2025 needs to be the year because the British guys just literally 2 hours ago, the British guys started sending me text messages. You need to come over late February to Glasgow. We're doing a hangout. You need to come over. I'm like, I need to do these things more. So we're gonna make this happen.
Yeah, I don't want to burden you. I don't want to burden you by doing anything. I just want to come to you, and then burden you by showing me a good time. That's your burden.
I will always do that.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to
Okay.
come by.
Okay.
Bro,
This has been awesome. This is a beautiful end. I'm gonna be doing my we'll post. When do you want to post this?
when?
Do you want to do it in the
Oh,
new
here's a
year?
good
Or?
one. Here's a good one. We're talking about festive days. Sort of like a festive day, but the day where people are contemplative and reflective. Let's post this on January 1st.
January 1st it is. The day before, probably. I'm going to post my best ofs 2024. So if anybody out there wants to go check that out, check it out. Like I said, go check out Thomas on this page, Thomas Opent. It will be linked down below.
And I
I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you to hell.
appreciate you all the way, bro.
Okay.
Love you.
Want to do a sign off so people know what's going on?
I would just like to say cheers, motherfuckers, and drink some good beer.
Clink.
Clink.
I'm going to post that.